We have another special guest, and as you all know, I always bring the best of the best. I try to keep up in my game on trying to find these incredible human beings, and for me, it's someone that has mentored me, even though he doesn't know that, but he's done that with so many people. And some of you have heard of the Miracle Morning, and I know this because Hal, I do masterminds. I do about 6 of my own personal mastermind retreats a year, and this last mastermind, this gal gets up, absolutely incredible. I won't say her name just in case she doesn't want me to. I think she'd be okay with it, but I won't say it. And she talks about how she was having suicidal thoughts. And she talks about how everything changed for her. And it was from reading your book and implementing this morning routine, and right, how these keystone habits affect everything. And so I know you already know this. And I know that you've had over 2 million people read that book. Now it's probably closer to 3 million. You've got 500,000 plus people that are actively practicing the Miracle Morning. And I was just listening to the Miracle Equation for the second time this morning. I listened for about an hour and 15 minutes while I was getting my workout on. But you've had such a profound impact that, first off, I just wanted to say thank you for what you've done. And thank you for making time, my man.
Rob, you said a lot there, man. You're welcome, and hearing that story of that woman that's touching, and to know that the Miracle Morning is helping people from sometimes the darkest times, and it's done that for me. It's great to be here, and I'm looking forward to serving in any way that I can.
Well, we got to first meet. We were on the same flight. And then after, I was like, I think I know this guy. I got to MC an event that Hal spoke at, and it was fun to be able to meet him in person. The one thing I will say is I get to meet a lot of different speakers from these different events. And some of the speakers are absolutely phenomenal. And others, I'm like, not what they were portraying out there. And you were just so humble and down to earth and just hanging around and just like, one of the regular guys. And I love seeing that. I always pay attention, and I saw how you were treating people when you got off the airplane. And I think that's really key and important. People are always watching, and you are exactly who I hoped and thought you were. So we're going to dive right into this because we only have so much time. And I know everybody wants to hear from you, not from me and my raspy voice from yelling at, we had 36 people on a trip in Lake Powell, 6 families. And there were 24 kids. So there was lots of just, hey, don't go there, do this, do that. So yeah, I'm losing that voice. So I want to start out with, most people don't know this, and if they really know you, they know this, but a lot don't realize that you actually have a direct sales background. Now, I know there's a difference between direct sales and network marketing. Direct sales is a lot more upfront, less residual, a lot of time bigger packages, things like that. But there's so many similarities as well. And you were part of a company called, I'll say it, Cutco, and you set some records there, and you had some insane goals. And so I was reading this morning as I was going through your book, The Miracle Equation, and I was reading through one of your experiences, and you were talking about miracle mavens and your miracle equation and how to make things happen. And you had this huge goal. So I'd love for you to talk, and we can go any direction on this, but I know that there are people listening right now that have these ranks they want to hit. They have these goals they want to hit. They've got these limiting beliefs that it's only other people, or I've got to find the right person, and they can't become that. We all have these different limiting beliefs, new levels, new devils. And you went through the mental battle in direct sales specifically. And so I'd love for you to touch a little bit on that story and your experience, and we'll relate it to network marketing and how people can go through that miracle equation and make it happen.
Yeah, this is a fun story for me to tell. So thank you. I don't tell it very often because it's not what I tell very often. So when I was 19 years old, I was a DJ on the radio. After my first year of college, I had a radio job, a job on the radio on the weekends, and that was my dream. And then a buddy of mine introduced me to sales, to Cutco, and he tried to convince me to sell Cutco. I'm like, I'm not a salesperson, I'm a DJ. And he introduced me to his manager, who was really charismatic, just a great guy, Jesse Levine. And long story short, they talked me into giving it a shot. And so I started in sales, and I went through a 3-day Cutco training. And for those that aren't familiar, the difference in terms of network marketing versus what I was doing in direct sales was I started out with people that I know. same as direct sales or as network marketing. I called everybody. I said, hey, I want to go, show you this product. I get paid whether or not you buy it, which was true. And I said, and then I would go and I'd do the presentation. And about the average company closing was like 70%. Average order size was like $150, I think, of a few knives. And then I would ask for referrals. I'd say, hey, who do you know that might be nice enough to come let me show the product? And I'd get referrals. And so that was very similar. The only difference was I wasn't trying to recruit people to build a business underneath me. Like that's pretty much the only thing I wasn't doing, but I was doing in-home presentations, right? So about a year and a half, 2 years into the career, I had just been in this horrific car accident where I was hit head on by a drunk driver. I died for 6 minutes. I was clinically dead for 6 minutes, flatlined twice more while I was in a coma for 6 days. Came out of the coma, told I was never going to walk again. 3 weeks.
And you did a marathon later. I mean,
say again.
And then you did a marathon later.
Yeah. That's a different story. But yeah, that was the whole. Since I wasn't going to walk in, I thought, what better way to prove it? That was like 10 years later. But yeah, I ran an ultra marathon. But I got back after my accident and I got back to work against the doctor's orders. I was like, I need to get back to like the old me. I've got to, this is where I find my purpose, is by setting goals and achieving goals. And so I wanted to break this all-time company record. So Cutco's been around at that time 50 years. And I was trying to be the first rep in the history of Cutco to sell $20,000 3 times in a row during 3 push periods. Push periods are 14-day sales contests. And I had tied this guy that had done it twice. No one had ever done it 3 times. And it's one of those things where if you've ever set a big goal and you've achieved it, you often discount yourself and you dismiss it as luck. Man, if that one customer wouldn't have shown up and introduced all their friends to me, like I never would have hit that. Like I can't repeat that. I got lucky, right? And that's how I felt. So I was really nervous to try to go for a 3rd time. I wasn't confident. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to pull this off 3 times in a row. I got lucky that I did it 2 times in a row. And I started the weeks leading up to the push period. I started gearing myself up. I'm like, all right, I would just use affirmations. I can do it. I'm going to sell $20,000 in 14 days, no matter what. There's no other option. I just would say it over and over, like trying to get myself to believe I could do it. And I show up to our sales meeting a few days before the push period starts, and our manager drops a bomb on me. And he says, hey, everybody, they just announced they had to move the conference up 4 days earlier. So you don't get the full 14 days for this push period. You only get 10 days. So everybody adjust your goals accordingly. And I'm like, no. And I raised my hand and I go, Frank, I said, like this push period doesn't count for like records and stuff, right? Because they're not giving us the full 14 days. He goes, Hal, I checked on that. Unfortunately, or fortunately, he said it counts. I was like, no, you don't understand. I'm trying to sell $20,000 for the 3rd time in a row, but this is a 14-day window that that everybody else has, And he goes, I know, it's not fair, whatever, it is what it is. So like, I'm like, I dive into self-doubt because I was already battling self-doubt like we all do. And so I'm driving home and I'm like, what do I do? And I get home and I'm thinking like, should I just give up? I just wanted to give up because I'm like, there's no way. Like selling $20,000 in 14 days feels this close to impossible. Having 4 out of those 14 days taken away, 10 days, that's not even doable. And as I'm falling asleep that night, right, call it, accessing higher intelligence, God, infinite wisdom, right? That voice of intuition that's like, no, you can, anything's possible. So I hear the voice of my mentor, Dan Cassetta, who taught me a lesson he learned from Jim Rohn. And if you're listening to this is worth writing down. And Jim Rohn, and I'm going to paraphrase what he said, but Jim Rohn said, the purpose of a goal is not to hit the goal. The ultimate purpose is to become the type of person that you need to be who can hit any goal you ever set. And again, I'm paraphrasing, that's my own words. But I remembered that and I went, okay, wait a minute. If the purpose of a goal, as in the ultimate benefit for us, is not just to hit the goal, it's who we become in the process of giving it everything we have. Because think about it, when you hit a goal, let's say you make some money or you get some recognition or you win a trip, like that's temporary. You spend the money, the recognition fades, but ultimately only the growth lasts forever. And so I woke up, I turned the light on and I pulled out my journal and I started writing and I went, wait a minute. what if I give it everything I have to sell $20,000 and I accept beforehand that I'm not doing it to sell $20,000. I'm doing it because who could I become in the next 10 days by giving it everything I have, regardless of my results? Like, let's say I'm on day 10 and I'm nowhere near the goal. Well, human nature is to throw in the towel, right? As we go on toward a goal, if we're not on track, we start doubting ourselves and we just give up. We give up hope. We give up faith. I go, what if I were to give it everything I had until the last possible moment, regardless of whether or not I hit the goal? Who would I become in the next 10 days? And I got excited because I was like, wait a minute, now there's no fear of failure. Because if I don't hit 20 grand, it doesn't matter as long as I give it everything I have and I show up every day at a level 10 commitment until the end. And so I was excited. I went out. Now, keep in mind, I'm going to do some quick math for everybody. I had 10 days to sell $20,000 of kitchen knives. That means I had to average $2,000 a day. Now, that meant the first week, because we turned in orders every week, I'd have to be at $14,000, and I'd have 3 days left to sell the last $6,000, right? Everybody's tracking with me, right? So my first 7 days, I made a decision going into the first day. There were 2 decisions I made, and this is the miracle equation. I almost forgot this part. It's kind of important.
And didn't you, real quick, Hal,
Yeah.
you said, I love how you reverse engineered it, where you thought, what would I do at the very end if I would have achieved it? I remember that specific, like, I'm like, that's so profound. You're like, hey, I've achieved it now. You're thinking 10 days down the road and you're like, what would I have done? Which goes perfectly what you're about to say right now.
Yes.
And I love how you're thinking, because I always say good leaders have vision, great leaders give vision. You're giving this vision to yourself of like, hey, I've done it. I've achieved it. What did I do to accomplish this?
Yes. Thank you for that. And so that was it. It was actually, I think that night before I went to bed, I went, okay, if this were to have happened, fast forward 10 days, what decisions would I have to make today that would have got me to that? And I felt like it was a miracle. That's why this is called the miracle equation, because I'm like, selling $20,000 in 10 days is like a miracle. It's not even feasible. And so I thought, okay, the first decision I would have to make, because I thought, what would prevent me is doubt, right? And that's what prevents all of us. Like, the only thing that stands in our way of everything we want is self-doubt. We doubt ourselves, so we don't even try, or we give up when we're not on track. I thought the opposite of doubt for me is faith. I must maintain unwavering faith that I can reach the goal, that I can sell $20,000 in 10 days. And here's the thing. Anytime we have a no sale, or we have a bad day, or we're not on track for our goal, the faith goes out the window and we start to doubt ourselves. And that voice of doubt grows louder. So I decided, in the most practical terms, I go, how am I going to maintain unwavering faith? I'm simply making a commitment that I'm not allowed to say anything other than I'm selling $20,000 in these 10 days, no matter what. There's no other option. That was my voice of faith. The second decision I made is I asked myself again, what would prevent me from reaching the goal? I go, well, if I didn't give it everything I had until the last minute, I wouldn't give myself a chance of making this miracle happen. And so usually when the faith goes out the window, the effort flies out right behind it, because you go, well, what's the point in trying? It's not looking like I'm going to reach the goal. And so I decided I will put forth extraordinary effort, meaning I will do everything in my power, regardless of how close or far away I am from the goal at any given moment, until the last possible moment. So 2 decisions: unwavering faith. I will maintain unwavering faith every moment of every day for the next 10 days that I can reach my goal. And I will put forth extraordinary effort every available moment for the next 10 days, no matter what. And those were the 2 decisions that I embarked on the journey with. And those first, I'm going to fast forward 7 days. In the 7 days, remember, I needed to be at $14,000. Well, I showed up to the office with my orders, and my manager said, Hal, hey, how'd the week go, man? I haven't talked to you very much this week. Are you on track for 20,000? Are you at 14? And I was a little discouraged, and I said, not even close, man. He said, okay, how are you? I said, I'm at just over 7. He's like, okay, all right, you got 13 to go. You got 3 days. All right, that might not be realistic. He said, why don't you lower the goal and just go for 10? That's a huge showing. That's still going to put you probably in the top 5 of everybody at the conference. And I said, Frank, I don't know that I made this clear to you. I'm committed to give it everything I have for these 10 days, to sell $20,000 regardless of my results along the way, no matter what. There's no other option. I said, I have 3 more days. I have no idea if or how this can happen, but I've decided that who I'm going to be for these 10 days is someone that does not give up and gives it everything I have. I said, so I don't know how, but I'm going to sell $13,000 in the next 3 days. Now, guys, I want to pause real quick for you. Did I really believe that I was going to sell $13,000 in the next 3 days? Absolutely not. See, that's what's interesting about this. Because if you're attempting this, if you're going, okay, I'm going to take Hal's words and I'm going to implement them, and you're going through it and you're not on track and you're going, it's not working. I don't have unwavering faith. I actually doubt myself. This is what's interesting. This miracle equation, which right there, miracle equation, this miracle equation, it is a strategy that increases the likeliness for your success in everything that you do. This isn't a one-time thing. This is a decision that I'm going to start maintaining unwavering faith that I can achieve every single goal I set, and I'm going to put forth extraordinary effort to achieve every single goal I set, even though out of the next 10 goals, you might only hit 4 of them or 7.
Your exact phrase was that you believed it was possible, but not probable in your book. And I'm like, that is so profound, because that's exactly, people are just so scared to try because they're like, what if I don't? It's like Les Brown says, shoot for the stars, land on the freaking moon, right? It's like worst case scenario, you got to look at the goals differently. And that's why I love how you set that tone with, you know, the famous Jim Rohn quote at the very beginning. Keep going. This is so good.
Yeah. And it is a paradigm. That's the huge paradigm shift when you realize, wait, I can't fail. Then you remove the fear of failure because you go, goals are about growth. In fact, that's worth writing down. Like, goals are about growth. Who can you become in pursuit of your goal? And if you don't hit it, great. You're a better version of the guy that or the gal that started. And then who can you become in the next goal that you set? And then great. Sometimes you hit it, sometimes you don't, but the growth lasts forever. So I went out in the next 3 days, and in the next 3 days, I sold $10,000. It was like, so remember, first 7 days, I sold $7,000. The last 3 days, I sold $10,000. I was at $17,000 for the push. And I was excited. I felt, oh my gosh, this is amazing. But I had committed to give it everything I had to sell not $17,000, to sell $20,000 in those 10 days. So I called my manager that night and I said, hey, Frank, I know we're supposed to meet at the office tomorrow. I know we're all riding a bus to San Jose to go to the conference together. I know I'm a leader. I know all of that. I'm calling in a favor. I can schedule 2 appointments first thing in the morning tomorrow, and then I can drive up and I can make it on time for the conference. But man, these 2 appointments could be the difference maker, and I could pull this off. And he goes, Hal, normally I would say no, but I've seen how your approach, your commitment, you're at a different level. I don't want to stop you. Go for it. So I scheduled 2 appointments the next morning. I go to the first one and I'm reading my miracle mantra. I'm going to sell $20,000 in 10 days. I got 3,000 to go. I'm going to do it no matter what. I was still scared because there's no guarantee I'm going to have 2 huge orders in 2 appointments. I go to the first house. I knock on the door. No show. She's not there. And my heart sinks and I'm like, no, this can't be happening. I was so close. I'm so close. No. I go to my last appointment, knock on the door, and the lady that answers has a very heavy European accent. So I'm like, all right, this is the wrong lady. I'm like, hey, is Mary here? And she's like, oh no, she left for the day. I go, no. Can you like call her on the cell phone? She's got to be here. This is my last appointment. And she calls her and she's like, I'm sorry, she's 3 hours away. She goes, is there anything I can do to help you? And I'm telling you the details of this last part because I'm going to pause again. What I have found, and you can talk to anyone that has achieved like an amazing outcome or amazing success, and they'll almost always tell you it happened in this unpredictable, 11th hour, miraculous fashion. I couldn't have predicted it. It felt like luck. That person came out of this, right? Like everything somehow fell into place in ways that you can never predict. And I could not have predicted this. She says, can I help you? And I said, who are you? She said, I'm her sister-in-law on vacation from Europe for my brother's 50th birthday party. And I'm in my head, I'm going, dude, the European lady on vacation isn't going to buy $3,000 Our biggest set that we made, just so you know, was $1,500. She'd have to buy 2 of them. I'm like, this is a waste of time. So I said, you know what? Thank you, but no thank you. And then my voice that I had been repeating this is the power of mantras and affirmations. The voice that I had repeated for the last 10 days, I'm committed to give it everything I have to sell $20,000 until the last possible moment. No matter what, there is no other option. I heard myself and I went, wait a minute. The last moment has arrived. I still got a couple hours and this lady is offering to let me show her Cutco. Although statistically on paper, she's like the worst person I could show Cutco to on vacation, but I'm gonna do it. I have to. So I said, actually, ma'am, can I do my presentation for you? It'll be fun. Give me a chance. She said, sure, come on in. So I give the best Cutco presentation I've ever given in my life. And she tells me 2 things that I challenge you to tell me how this isn't a miracle, right? Call it a coincidence, fine. She tells me 2 things. Number 1, she says, it's so interesting, and I'm terrible at accents, but I'm doing my best European accent. She said, it's so interesting that you are coming to show me kitchen knives because my husband and I were just looking at a set of German knives in Europe before we came out here, right before our trip a few days before, but we decided to wait. Something inside us said, wait until our trip, until we get back to buy the knives. I was like, wow, that's really interesting timing. The second thing she tells me is even crazier. She said, you know, we've been looking for the perfect gift for my brother-in-law's 50th birthday party, but we want to get him something amazing that he'll use and have forever. Let me ask you, Rob, you probably know the answer. What do you think his passion in life was, her brother-in-law's passion?
Her brother-in-law's passion?
Yeah, his hobby, his favorite hobby.
I don't know.
All right, it was cooking.
Oh my
God. So she tells me, my brother-in-law, cooking is his favorite thing in the world. So this woman on vacation from Europe in the 11th hour, my final appointment, buys 2 Cutco Ultimate sets. And my sales total was $3,017. She bought one for herself to fly back to Europe and one for her brother-in-law's 50th birthday party. What are the odds that the wrong lady at the last house, and this is why I call it the miracle equation, because you find when you live with unwavering faith and put forth extraordinary effort toward everything that you do, you create results. What I call practical, tangible, measurable miracles. Not like parting of the Red Sea stuff, but outcomes that are so beyond what you could even have ever predicted that it feels like a miracle. You're like, I can't believe I did it. But if you study, the last thing I'll say, Rob, is if you study the world's most successful people in any industry, in all walks of life, from network marketing to world champion athletes, you find that they approach their craft, their trade, their day-to-day with unwavering faith and extraordinary effort. And those 2 decisions that are available to all of us all the time are how people create these measurable miracles.
Well, I got a couple more insights and questions to ask you. I'm telling you all,
Please.
If you haven't read Hal's books, go get them. Get the physical copies, get the audible copies, listen, take notes, study it, and more importantly, make sure that you implement it in your business. I think too many people read for the sake of reading. They read for the sake of saying how many books they've read or finished and gone through. And Leonardo da Vinci was the most talented man to walk this earth. And it's because he had the ability to learn how to learn. And so you've got to actually take the principles and apply them. And he gives so many different examples of these miracle mavens that have accomplished wild and crazy things with backgrounds that you wouldn't think it's possible at all. And as I'm listening to you talk so much about faith, I think about, I can't even remember which verse it is in the Bible, but I think it's James. It talks about faith without works is dead. And people don't realize that faith is actually an action. It's not just something that's just a belief. That's why his miracle equation goes so well together, hand in hand. So I know some people, as they're listening, are like, okay, I got it. I got the formula. It makes sense. There's so many stories. And then, of course, a lot of times the self-sabotage comes back in and the limiting beliefs comes back in. But how do I develop this unwavering faith? I don't believe in myself for whatever reason, whether it's background, whether it's the story they're telling themselves. That's always part of it, of course.
Yeah.
How would one, if someone came to you for personal coaching one-on-one, they just see you at the airport, you're having a chat with them, right? And they come to you with this question of, how do I create this unwavering belief, this unwavering faith like you have? Because I'm just not like you, Hal. I just don't have it like you naturally. I got these demons inside and my mind keeps telling me I can't. What would you say?
I would say that, number one, I would say that I'm just like you, meaning whoever's talking to me, in that to me, faith, like I said, is a strategy, and it's because I have so much fear and self-doubt. I have fear and self-doubt all the time, every day. And so for me, I override that fear with faith. Now, to answer the question, how do you develop it? For me, it's got to be in writing. Like, my memory is short, and that voice of fear, which is based on, past programming and a lifetime of self-doubt and insecurity, you have to have something to override that. And so for me, it's during my miracle morning when I recite my affirmations. And I have affirmation, like in the Miracle Equation book, right? I call it the miracle mantra, which is really a short affirmation. And I referenced it multiple times, the way that I worded it for my personal goal when I was trying to sell Cutco, right? I will, and here's kind of the basic version. I will do blank no matter what. There's no other option. That's it. And the thing about this faith is it's really about faith in yourself. It's not faith in anything outside of yourself. Not that there's anything wrong with having faith in whether it's God or faith in the future, whatever. But this is really about developing faith in yourself. And so if you look at my mantra, it was really about, I am committed, or I will do everything in my power to reach this goal. No matter what, there's no other option, right? And here's the thing. What we repeatedly think we become. I forgot somebody said that, right? Somebody famous. What we think repeatedly we become. And
probably as a man thinketh. Probably
as a man thinketh. James Allen.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. Don't quote me on this stuff. But we become our thoughts. And so whatever you think repeatedly, like, think about it. If you think angry thoughts over and over and over and over and over, could be about another person. As soon as you see that person, how do you feel? You feel anger. If you think doubtful thoughts about yourself over and over and over and over and over again, then your default way of being and feeling, your state, is going to be one of doubt. If you think thoughts of faith, of confidence, of optimism over and over and over and over and over again, you're programming your subconscious mind with the states that you choose. And so to develop that faith, it's about being intentional, putting it in writing, and then reciting it with energy, with emotion, with enthusiasm every single day. And so, and the only caveat to that is, it's really important that when you craft an affirmation, by the way, is just a statement that reflects something you aspire to, right? I am committed to blank. That's an affirmation of something you're committed to. The more you recite it, the more you feel it, the more you believe it. My only qualm with affirmations is the way that a lot of self-help gurus have taught us over the years is some form of lying to yourself. If you want to be happy, just say, I am happy, until you believe it. If you want to be thin, just say, I am thin, even if you're overweight. Just say, I am thin, I am thin, I am thin, I am thin, until you believe it. If you want to be wealthy, same thing. I don't believe in that. Now, could it work? Could you trick yourself eventually? Possibly. But my preference with affirmations is, look, the truth will always prevail. If you're overweight, don't say I am thin. Say I am committed to becoming thin. If you're struggling financially, don't say I'm a millionaire. I'm a millionaire. I'm a millionaire. Say I'm committed to becoming a millionaire. I'm committed to earning X amount of. I'm committed to. So for me, that's just a really a minor shift in language, but crucial. Is don't affirm something that you do not yet believe or experience as truth. Shift it from I am blank to I am committed to blank, or I will blank. So you can affirm that I'm committed to being the happiest person I've ever known. I'm committed to being the most disciplined person you've ever met. I'm committed to losing 20 pounds. Don't affirm something that's not yet true. Affirm your commitment to making it true.
I love that. So something I was just trying to find real quick, on my notes, I could look it up real fast. So the very first day I started in network marketing, I wrote this down and I put it in my latest book, The Game of Conquering. And this is what I wrote the very first day. I didn't know anything about affirmations. I just wrote this down. And I said, I've never tried to go all out and do something completely different because I'm always scared of failing. I will go forward no matter what. You said no matter what.
Yeah.
When I get rejected, I will just become more determined. This is my break-in opportunity. I deserve this right now. I read that thing at the beginning probably 10 to 15 times a day because I didn't want anybody to know the fear of judgment that I had. I was so worried what everyone thought and they were going to laugh at me and are things that bad? And I can't believe you're doing one of those things and it's not going to work.
Yeah.
That I literally read it over and over and over. And then, it created different affirmations and more in depth and more specific on what I wanted and what I was committed to doing, and had it up in my shower along with, I think I had 10 different quotes, and I would interchange them. My wife's like, this looks awful. I'm like, doesn't matter. I need this. I put it in the mirrors. I put it in my office because I understood the power of environment and the power of just surrounding myself right with the positivity so that my brain focused on solutions rather than problems. Cause it's like they kept creeping in, right? Just like you said, you're normal, I'm normal. And I kept having to push them out until eventually it became a habit, until eventually it became me. So I know we got 5 minutes and we got a hard stop in 5 minutes. So tell us how the Miracle Morning and the Miracle Equation work together, because, I'm glad you wrote a second book. I know for me, I was scared to write my second book. So I'm like, what if people don't like it as much as the first? And then I'm like, who cares?
Yeah.
As long as I impact and make a difference, right?
Yeah.
Who cares? And so I actually love both. I think they're companions that work together. So tell me how you feel like they work best together with these principles.
Yeah, what's interesting is, so the Miracle Morning was written in 2012, Miracle Equation, or published in 2012, Miracle Equation published 2019. And so most people would think, wow, he's really, really milking this miracle brand, right? The irony is the Miracle Equation as a concept, and when I named it was in the year 2000, it was 12 years before the Miracle Morning was a book, right? And the other ironic part is I used the Miracle Equation in terms of the formula, unwavering faith and extraordinary effort, to write the Miracle Morning and get it out to millions of people, right? So when a publisher reached out to me, then they said, hey, we want you to do a book, or do you want to do a book? I said, I have this thing on my heart called the Miracle Equation. It is how I've accomplished everything in my life up until this point, and it complements the Miracle Morning. And so here's how. The Miracle Morning is your process for daily personal development. And I really believe that's the foundation. Every day we develop ourselves. That's where the affirmations begin. Part of the Miracle Morning, visualization, journaling, all these practices done in the morning that enable you to become a better version of yourself, to become the person that you need to be in terms of the beliefs and the habits and the mindset in order to achieve everything that you want. However, what I've realized is that people become what I call personal development junkies. And you said it yourself. You read a bunch of books. Hey, look how many books I've read. How many of those have you implemented? Oh, I just read a lot of books and I feel good about myself for the reading. And so think of it this way. While the Miracle Morning is your process for daily personal development, the Miracle Equation is your practice, your process for goal achievement. Because you can be the most personally developed person on the planet and still sit in your office and just read and journal and not go out there and get out of your comfort zone and face your fears and face your self-doubt and go after your big goals and dreams and create the life that you ultimately want. And so to me, you've got to have that process for personal development to optimize yourself, but you need that practice for goal achievement. So you take that personal development that you do in the morning and then you translate it into specific actions throughout the day that produce those tangible, measurable miracles. And so to me, it's kind of like Miracle Morning is how you prime yourself for the day. The Miracle Equation is how you execute an optimum ideal day to produce the results that you want in your life.
Love it. What do you like to do for fun so people can get to know you when you're not changing the world?
Hang out with my kids. I have my daughter just turned 11 and my son just turned 8. And my wife, I won't tell you how old she is, but hanging out with the family is that's when I just get to realize, like, I just become so present. I'm like, this is what matters. Everything I stressed about all week, like what a waste of time. What am I doing that for? Like, these are my people. This is why this is the greatest joy in my life. And so that's for fun, is just hanging out with the fam.
Well, I'm going to give you my favorite quote of all time that I say every time I speak on stage. You're going to love it. Die with memories, not with dreams. Because for me, it's all about, I measure my success based on the amount of family vacations I do every single year. So I always set at least 7's my goal.
Nice.
Because you're right. I mean, that's what it's all about. Where is the best place for people to find you, find your books? I know you got an incredible podcast as well, but I want you to put a plug in here, because they love you, they love your content, and they want more. Where do they get it?
miraclemorning.com. That's the hub to get all access to all my books and the podcast, and join the Miracle Morning community. It's a really inspired group of people. And then the Miracle Morning movie comes out in December. It's a documentary about this journey I've been on, and it comes out on 12/12/2020. And if you go to miraclemorning.com and just get on the email list, you'll get notified as soon as tickets are available for the world premiere, which is going to be online. And yeah, man, just changing the world one morning at a time.
Well, I know you got a busy day, so we will let you go, but we all want to say thank you so much for providing so much value. It's very much appreciated, and you're making a huge difference.
I appreciate you, Rob, man. Ever since I met you, I feel connected and appreciate your spirit, dude. So thanks for having me, and thanks for all the work that you do.
Thanks, Hal.